I think that was that. Who was it? Sound like that. Maybe he just said he's
Are
getting.
you recording, Jody?
Hold on, let me double check. It's hard to tell because I'm sharing my screen. Let me unshare for a second. Get that, make sure it's recording. Yep, we are good. You can start. Sorry.
Everyone rise for the flag salute, please. To the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, okay, so we said I could use them as a reference?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a quick reminder for those that are on their phone or on devices at home, if you could mute yourself from the meeting and unmute when needed to speak or spoken to, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah,
Like
I
to call to order.
got my resume, but no, I didn't put any references down. So we'll see. Well, I didn't like, I mean, references are okay, and I know they want them, but I figured I'll talk to them first because, like, it's kind of stupid, right? Who puts a reference? Okay.
iPhone number 3 is not muted.
For you. I would like to call to order the City Council, Egg Harbor City Council meeting for February 11th, 2021. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Egg Harbor City Common Council was provided in the following manner. Advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the Egg Harbor City bulletin board. Advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the Egg Harbor City website. Advance written notice of this meeting was sent to the Hamilton Gazette, the News, the Press, and the Current. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and social distancing requirements, the meeting is being conducted via Zoom and conference call. The meeting is also being recorded to air on the Egg Harbor City website and channel 97. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gepetti? Here. Brown?
Here.
Clark?
Here.
Dash?
Here.
Heist? Sefton? Here. Timbers?
Here.
Trithol?
Here.
Wright?
Here.
Ritchie?
Here. If I could have a motion to approve the minutes from both the January 6, 2021 from the reorganization meeting that had to be edited and revised, and from January 21st, 2021.
Second, Brown.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I would like to now open up the public comment on any item on the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Brown.
Second. Anybody from the public have any comments or questions on any items on the agenda? Motion to close.
Second.
All right. Presentation. We have Michael Troncone of Consulting and Municipal Engineers here to update on the Cedar Creek Egg Harbor City Lake pedestrian connection. Sir, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. How y'all doing tonight? Very good. Yeah, I was going to give my presentation. I'm probably going to need access. Can I share my screen? So give us a whirl.
Jody, can you hear him?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. I was answering. Sorry. Yes, Mike, you can share your screen.
Let me
If you go
try
down to
this.
the bottom, there should be an option to share screen. There you go.
Very good. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Start the slideshow. Okay, yeah, so I'm here to give an update on this federal aid transportation alternative project that the borough, the city got money for. So I just want to kind of give you an update on where we're at, where we're headed. And the good news is, we just recently wrapped up our preliminary engineering phase of the project. So we'll be moving into final design, which, I'll go into a little bit right here now, just kind of give everybody a reminder of what we're doing here. So basically, the project will add bike lanes to both sides of Philadelphia Avenue. County Route 563 from, this always gets me, Dirtsawig Street, all the way down to the campground, the South Lake Drive. So basically, the roadway needs some minor widening here and there throughout the length of the project. And so widenings vary from 3, 4, 5 feet. And then the game plan here is to mill and pave the roadway where necessary for the width of the bikeway. And then we're going to be working with the county. We're going to be coordinating so they can do the interior part of the roadway, mill and resurface the interior part. So hopefully, if all goes well, it'll all be smooth and concurrent. So that's kind of what the project is right now. Go to, so basically the purpose of the project is provide connectivity from the city, downtown, or the core of the city out to the campground area. Also to provide access to the high school on Irving Street. Basically, like I said, the sponsor is the city, and since the roadway is in county jurisdiction, there's going to need to be an agreement between the city and the county as far as maintenance. Although the county, I think, did indicate that they'd be willing to take over maintenance of the facility moving forward. But again, that's something we would have to coordinate under final design just to confirm that's still the case. Essentially, all it really is stripes and signs for the most part. So that's that. And like I said, the city got a grant of $825,000, and it's being administered through the NJDOT local aid. And we're through a design assistance program. CME was retained by the city through a program that is our soft costs are paid by the New Jersey Department of Transportation. So there's no cost to the borough. I'm sorry, to the city, that borough grant. So basically, since it's federally funded, we need to go through this federal aid process, this environmental review process, which is what's got done now in preliminary engineering. We get through all this environmental documents, environmental reviews, cultural resources. There's all these things that are required under federal law. So now that we finish our preliminary engineering phase, we've had a public meeting. Now we'll go into final design and really do the meat and potatoes of the project, where we will do our right of way. We'll get our permits, although we don't need right of way on this job, but we'll get our permits. And we'll get our final bid documents together and get this out to bid for the next phase. And here's a little sketch of what we're doing. Basically, the bike lane on either side of the roadway. So like I said, I kind of went through preliminary engineering, final design. I kind of went through all that. Obviously, the agreement between the county and the city would also be put in place if needed. And then we have to get through the NJDOT review process and get authorization for bidding the job. So we're looking right now, if all goes well. Jody, I'll speak to you later. It sounds like you did get the letter sent out to start the next phase of the project. I think the city will need to pass a resolution on that. And hopefully we'll get started in the spring of this year. And it takes a year. We have to get through Pinelands. We need a Pinelands permit. So hopefully in the summer of 2022, this project will be under construction. That's the schedule. And then obviously, the goal here is to keep the roadway open during construction. We're not going to be closing Philadelphia Avenue since most of the work's being done on the outside. And that's really kind of it. That's where we're at. Like I said, hopefully we'll get started until our final design in a month or so. Do you have any questions? Or I do have graphics of the project if you want to see them, the actual limits. If you'd like to see them, let me know. So if there's no questions, I'll hand the meeting back over to whoever's running the meeting. And like I said, we'll probably see you all in like 3-4 months for our next and final public meeting. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. You have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, Mayor, floor is yours.
I had asked Mike to come tonight, so thank you, Mike, for coming and giving up your report. It's been a long time in the planning process and the design phase and everything, so I'm looking forward to the bicycle path line. Route 50, Philadelphia Avenue. It's going to be great. The only other thing I have is there's a coalition for safe community meeting on Zoom at first. That's the 18th, and I can send that link to all council. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee chair reports. I know safety, you had a meeting the other night. If you care to share.
Yeah, real quick. First of all, I'd like to shout out to the Egg Harbor City Fire Department for lending mutual aid to my fire department in Pleasantville when we had the 4-alarm fire there. Did an awesome job and very professional. They did a fantastic job. Basically, it was a small meeting, and we got the status of the police and fire, making sure that they had the proper PPE, and also with the COVID vaccinations, we were updated on that. At the time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the fire department received a grant for air packs for the station. They should start be receiving, if I'm not mistaken, the next month or so, and be put them in service. That was through a grant that they received, the AFG grant. It was talked about, I know it's kind of with ordinance with the bike. I'm still doing some research on that, getting some different municipalities and what they actually do to enforce if, no bicycles on the sidewalk, which was brought up at an earlier meeting. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heiss is not here tonight. She has nothing to report on highway, property, parks, and playgrounds. Any other council or any other committee chairs have any reports?
I guess I got one. I guess because for utilities, we met twice last week for the sale of the water plant with Keith. He gave his concerns and everything pretty much of why he wants to try to keep the water plant. I guess Ryan can really touch a little bit better on it, the language and all that stuff. But the first meeting was just with utilities, and then he said he wanted to reach out to pretty much every council member. Hopefully he met up with everybody, and kind of everybody got his feedback, so everybody has a fair way when we do come to vote for this sale of the water plant. If Ryan wants to touch base on it a little bit better, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. So Keith reached out to me probably 2 weeks ago or so, expressed his desire to keep it and wanted to make sure that everyone was informed. Everyone who's going to make the decision, there'll be 9 people that vote on it ultimately. We just want to make sure that everyone who had a vote knew as much as they could know about it and feel confident in their vote. So I sat down with Keith. We actually, he in the first meeting, I wasn't quite sure what he wanted to talk about. So we sort of batted around a little bit of his ideas. And then over the last couple of days, we sat down and sort of hashed out a sort of bare bones budget to say, at the very least, this is what you would have to do, and here's what that would cost. And here's where the rates would have to go if the city was going to keep the system instead of selling the system. So that he was comfortable that you guys had that information to say, look, at the absolute minimum, this is what we would have to do. We came up with about a 7.3% rate increase would be required now, and then 2% a year pretty much forever forward. We've rehashed the sales scenario many times, but he wanted to make sure that everyone understood the key potential or what that case would look like, so that everyone understood what the financial repercussions would be for the city if you guys decided to keep it. I'm confident that we distribute all information. I think everyone, both meetings went about 2 hours, so I think it was productive meetings. We had a lot of questions, a lot of dialogue, so I think everyone has a good understanding of the financial implications of both paths forward. If you still have any questions, obviously reach out to me. We can try to get anything you have unresolved answered. Hopefully everybody feels like you're in a good place for your knowledge of what the paths forward are.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Director Emmer, your public safety report, please.
Okay, this public safety report will be for the time period from January 17th to January 30th. During that time period, we experienced 2 burglaries, 1 fraud. We had 3 stolen motor vehicles. We had 11 accidents, 298 traffic stops. They issued 158 tickets. They made 9 arrests. We handled 7 alarms. 3 of them were residential alarms, or 10 alarms, 3 residential and 7 business alarms. They conducted 163 crime prevention activities. They handled 2 criminal mischiefs, 4 domestics. There were 9 EMS incidents. We processed 17 new firearm applicants, did 221 property checks, and they handled 2 public service incidents. Everything in the police department is running fine right now. We have 1 person in the academy who will graduate sometime in April. We don't have a date yet, but as soon as I have a date, I will let the mayor and council know the date of the graduation. Thank you.
One question for you, Director. The
Shoot.
3 that were hired in middle of last year, how are they doing? Are they out of the academy and FTO now?
They're all out of the academy. They're finished FTO, and all of them are actually out in cars by themselves now.
Awesome, great, thank you. Moving on, CFO report, Jody, please.
I don't have anything besides what's on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Meg, City Clerk.
The only thing I wanted to touch on is that I did send out an email to mayor and council that we did have a drop box installed, the count for your mail-in ballots. So we did, were able to secure a grant to put in cameras out in front of City Hall. That was one of the requirements to have the drop box for your mail-in ballot. So it is out front. If you're looking at the building, it's to the left. So the next election site, the next election primary, we will be able to be a drop-off location for mail-in ballots and moving forward elections after that. So we thank the county for notifying us about the grant for the cameras, and Jeremy Adams installed the cameras, and we were able to move. It was a pretty easy process. Jody, do you agree?
Yeah, yeah. It was very super smooth. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just came and installed it last week. So it's out there. So check it out. You can tell your neighbors and anybody in the Harbor City can drop their ballot there.
Is that all?
That's it.
Thank you. Angela, City Attorney report.
Thank you and good evening. On your agenda today is number 14, a resolution, and number 15, an introduction of an ordinance on the water plant. For number 14, unfortunately, I request that be tabled because I understand American Water might also want an ordinance in place of, or both a resolution and an ordinance to present to the BPU for sale. So until we get that straightened out with them, even though I sent this over to them, I understand late moment that they might also want an ordinance and or in place of the resolution. So I asked that 14 be tabled, and 14 was an agreement, a resolution for the city to enter into an agreement of sale for the water plant to present to the BPU. Now, as far as 15, the ordinance for municipal consent, that's also required, and that can be introduced. And along with the sale, American Water needs municipal consent pursuant to 2 statutory provisions, which only permits a water company to lay pipes, take care of hydrants, and avert water with the consent of the municipality that runs the public roads and streets. So that's also a necessary part of the sale, and that appears to be good. So other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angela, I have a question. Can you say again why we can't do a resolution?
Well, apparently I heard last moment that American Water may want an ordinance and or a resolution. So I was under the impression that a resolution would work. I submitted it to them. They approved it. But now they're telling me that perhaps they need an ordinance in place of or in conjunction with.
You mean an ordinance for the agreement of sale?
No, an ordinance to sell.
Yeah, Angela. So I've been trying to sort this out with Nick as we're sitting here at the meeting. The resolution is good for the sale portion of it.
Right.
What we've been explaining to everybody is that it would be 2-part. We would introduce it at this meeting and then adopt at the first March meeting. That was sort of our plan of how we were rolling things forward. The sale can occur by resolution. It's by ordinance if you are going through the referendum or go through the referendum or are selling to a public entity.
Right, that was my understanding as well.
That is correct. I don't want to, having it as a resolution where it's a single step on the agenda now, that step is a final step. So I don't want to advance that when we've been outlining to people that the final vote would be in the first week of March. So I think it would behoove us to put this on that agenda the first week of March or the second meeting in February if everyone's comfortable with it there, rather than vote on it tonight where people, I think, expectations coming in were that this was not the final vote, that there was one more coming up. So.
Okay,
It will be by resolution, but again, I think we should table it at least till the second February meeting, just so everyone, mentally is understands that we're there at the final vote. So,
okay, it's up to mayor and council, whatever you want to do.
agreed. I'm sure. Joe, do you have any thoughts there?
When we get to 14, we'll discuss it.
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you, Angela. Anybody have any other questions for our attorney? All right, Brian, your engineer's report.
Yeah, good timing for that. So I think we just went through the water portion that I was going to talk about. A couple update things. I think everyone can see Wawa's making good progress. Route 30, we keep asking for and receiving things that will make things easier to operate and maintain and access in the future. We'll keep anyone accessing that stuff out of the Route 30 lanes. The only other thing that I had come up in the last week or so was we had an inquiry for a local builder who was looking at buying 3 properties in Egg Harbor City, block 58.07 lots 16, 17, and 18. They are at the corner of Deestewig Street and Brayman Avenue. There's 3 empty lots next to each other that all face Deestewig Street. That street is not improved currently. The ordinance requires that when you build a house on a dirt road, the city requires off-track improvements to improve access to the property. The builder reached out to inquire, would the city waive that? And they said, well, that's not up to me. That would have to be up to city council to make that decision to waive that. That's not something that we've typically done. I'm not aware of it ever occurring. But they sent a request to Meg's attention, and I reviewed it with her, and I said, we would discuss and bring it up to city council, see if anyone wanted to entertain that.
And who's the builder, Ryan?
Hydock?
Yeah, the last name is Hydock. I don't remember what the company is, but Patty Hydock.
Yes. She had a business.
South Jersey Bottrell.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know if every past council people may recognize the property as Gatto used to own it. At the corner, and
Yeah,
that was one of his problems was the improvements,
the cost of the improvements.
the cost of the improvements. So I
Right.
think that's why. I don't know, did she purchase it yet?
No, she was looking into it and just didn't want to commit to purchasing it until she knew one way or the other whether they're going to have to make the improvements. Because as you might imagine, that's a huge financial impact on developing properties.
So moving forward with this conversation, I'm going to recuse myself from a personal relationship of the seller and knowing also the buyer. So I'll open up the conversation for the remainder of council.
What improvements, Ryan, the road?
Yeah, so typically the builder, anytime you see somebody build a new house, usually it's fronts a paved street and they have to redo the curbs if they're busted up and they have to do sidewalks. In this case, there's not even a street, it's a dirt road. So off-track improvements in this case would include sidewalk, curb, and paving the street out in front of the houses. So your ordinance is a bit broad and gives the city some discretion as to how much you could require, whether it be half width paving or the full width of the road. But again, I mean, they're fairly typical improvements for lots that front dirt roads. The city, again, at least not certainly in my involvement, has ever allowed someone to build a house on a dirt road without improvement.
And I would like to also add, we lost a developer. I'm pretty sure one of the reasons is because he had to develop the roads before he could put a house on, and that was a big development on Antwerp Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost them because of that. I think that not that I'm against having more houses there,
Sure.
But I think if you set that precedent, you're gonna get developers in here that are gonna slap houses up, and there's gonna be no roads, because we're not doing that road anytime soon that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, you guys do have a decent number of dirt roads, and if you allow people to start building houses on dirt roads without improving them, I mean, they can exist that way, on a house on a dirt road, but there's a substantial cost to actually build that street. Constructing a full block of a street, anywhere between $200,000 and $300,000.
And they're probably not paying that much for that lot because of that. So they're getting a break on the lot, but yet we don't get the improvement that we should get from that stuff. So I'm against it.
Me too.
Council President, if I may, I did have a quick question. It's probably for our solicitor. It's a procedural question. For this, should they go before the land use board and maybe get a variance?
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So these are three, this is a subdivision that executed previously that doesn't speak to improvements. It's three individual lots. So in theory, three different people could buy the three lots, and there would be no reason to come to the board for an approval. A single family home does not require land use board approval. Generally speaking, if this was coming in as a major subdivision, which it's not because it's three lots, and that's the cutoff, your 3 lots or less. If it was coming in as a major subdivision, it wouldn't be a question. It would be in front of the board as a discussion as part of the subdivision. But because it's 3 individual lots and they don't each require land use board approval, that's why I brought the question here and not to the land use board.
Okay, quick question. Since it's 3 individual lots, are the lots, theoretically, if they're not next to each other, but if he was required to do it, would he be doing a substantial path where he has to improve? Or this would be like 2 pieces of pavement, a big space, 2 pieces of pavement, and a big space?
So I think you're asking the hypothetical situation as if we had somebody wanting to improve a lot in the middle of the block, say, would they have to improve the entire street?
Well, no, if he's doing 3, but he places his properties out such a way that then it doesn't become tenable or make sense for him to do the whole thing? Or should it make sense that if he's putting 3 properties in a row, that he should have to improve that span?
Yeah, that's sort of what your ordinance speaks to, is that the 3 contiguous properties would require off-track improvements that would reflect each of those 3 consecutive properties. So, you wouldn't have to do, the block is longer than just those 3 lots, so they wouldn't have to do the entire block, but the entire frontage of those 3 lots.
Okay.
Your ordinance, like I said, speaks to a little broader than that. You can require additional off-track improvements. So in theory, if someone came in the middle of the block and there was no prospect to develop the rest of the street or the block, you could require them to extend the street to the nearest connecting street. Obviously that's something that would have to be discussed with any developer, but your ordinance gives you that flexibility to make those kinds of requirements that are situationally dependent.
Okay.
Any other council members with any comments or questions in regards to this matter?
Mr. President, since this is just sprung on us and everything else, if the city engineer can send us some information, I think we should just table this until the next meeting.
Yeah, you certainly don't have to vote on it tonight. I just wanted to bring it up because I spoke to my doc within the last week and said I would bring it to council's attention. Frankly, I could have brought it up the other night. I kind of forgot since our discussion was lengthy.
Which committee should it go to? Property or finance and redevelopment?
Yeah.
Should go to finance and redevelopment.
Are the lots able to be sold individually, Brian?
Yeah, they're 3 individual lots. They're not.
So the current owner could sell them off separately.
Correct.
Any other questions or concerns?
And Ryan, to the best of your knowledge, this isn't typically approved.
Yeah, there's no instances of this that I'm aware of. Certainly in recent history, at least last 15, 20 years.
All right, thank you.
Do you have the price of the lot, Brian?
I know nothing about what they're priced or anything, to be honest. I only know what they're
usually when you're buying a lot on a dirt road, you already know that what you have to do. I do it for a living. You already know what's in the contract. That's why when you buy these properties, you put into that contract the to bid for a lower price to cover those costs.
Right.
So, I mean, it's any town, any city, anywhere you go, it's mandatory that it has.
Yeah, off-track improvements are pretty standard. But like I said, she asked the question, so I brought it forth. And if we want to revisit it with a subcommittee, I'm happy to do that. We can go over it in detail and look at plans and all that. I just wanted to bring it up this evening because I did say that I would bring it to council's attention. So.
There's no more questions or concerns. I'll accept the suggestion of Councilman Trithall to table and have it forwarded to the Finance and Redevelopment Committee for further discussion.
I'll make that motion.
Anything else, Ryan?
No, I mean, I think we reviewed the water treatment plant sale that like was explained. The second part is just granting the consent for New Jersey American to become the water purveyor essentially. So I think it would be appropriate to introduce this ordinance at this point, and then, I mean, in theory, you could just vote on both at the same time because they're, they go hand in hand. Passing one without the other wouldn't really make any sense.
Any council have any questions or comments for Ryan? I do have one for you. You know what I'm gonna talk about.
Okay.
The solar project.
Yeah, okay, I'll give an update on that. That's a good question. So we were in contact with a solar developer that had reached out to the city in following up on the previous RFPs that went out. And one of the things that was highlighted was a recent law change that allows for a configuration that's called remote net metering. So previously, each facility had to generate power on site and it could only power that facility. You couldn't run any lines across the street, or you'd be considered a generating facility, which is regulated differently and costs a lot more money to get approved. So the concept of remote net metering is that you can aggregate a few of your facilities and look at the total usage from all of them, pick a singular site that isn't necessarily adjacent to any of them, build a solar facility there, and net the meters out where one would be spinning forward and the others would be spinning backward, and they would net out to zero. So you're not allowed to generate more power than you're using on any facility. So this allows for that concept spread over a larger space. The proposal that we discussed was adding solar canopies over the parking at the transit hub parking lot right across from the train station and the bus stop between Buffalo and Cincinnati on Atlantic. The economics of doing a single site, even with solar canopies, which are a bit more expensive for the carports, the economics of doing a single site make the project a lot more attractive. So if everyone remembers the history, we bid it twice. We had to reject bids the first time. We didn't receive any bids the second time. So we now have the opportunity to negotiate directly with the solar developers. So we're waiting on a sort of the framework of a proposal back from this first company. We're going to reach out to a couple others, try to get comparable proposals from them. Once we have them, we'll regroup probably with the property committee and talk about, what those proposals look like, and then we can negotiate directly with any of the developers that are responsive. So, I think that is a very viable and attractive path forward. So we'll keep you updated.
And then in addition to that, the conversation I had with Ryan was it's also a gateway. I know we've spoken about charging stations at that area.
Yes.
So it could be a lucrative gateway for that to be moving forward. I think we tabled that.
Yeah, that would be the perfect time to add those charging stations. Well, it was voted against previously because the maintenance costs were unknown and stuff like that. But if you have a solar agreement with a solar developer, you can make it a requirement that they incorporate these stations into the overall project. It would be an incremental cost to the overall project. You already have a lot of electrical work going on, a lot of conduit and handholds and stuff. So it wouldn't add much to the cost of the project to add them in. And then they would be the responsibility of the system owner. So generally speaking, it's a PPA where they own the system for 15 or 20 years and then turn it over. But all of that could be worked out through the PPA. So you'd have the potential for someone else to have to maintain them, and you'd be able to add the charging stations as a feature in the transit. So it's definitely a potential benefit in a lot of ways.
Great. Any questions or comments on that from anybody on council? All right, everything? That's everything, right?
Yeah, no, we're good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so number 14, the resolution that's been at topic. If everyone's in agreement and understands what both Angela and Ryan have discussed and put out there, and there's no questions or concerns or comments about it, if I can have a motion to table it until the next meeting, I'm assuming.
So move, Dash.
Second, Trithel.
All right, all in favor, correct? I don't need a roll call for that. Yep. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, number 15, now to introduce the ordinance number 2, 2021. Granting consent and permission to New Jersey American Water Company to furnish potable water and wastewater conveyance in the city of Egg Harbor, New Jersey. Advertise the notice of introduction in the Hamilton Gazette on February 17, 2021 for a public hearing on February 25th, 2021. If there's no questions or comments, may I have a motion?
I have a question, comment, if permissible.
Go ahead.
Is this the cart before the horse? And the only reason I'm asking that is the ordinance a prerequisite of that, the resolution authorizing the agreement for sale? Can they, or if they were supposed to have been done concurrently, maybe that was permissible. But if we're going to move the resolution for number 15, do we have to wait for that too?
Well, so this, I'll defer to Angela, but I'll sort of preface the conversation. The ordinance requires 2 steps. This would be the introduction, and then we would adopt on March 11th. Would be the earliest we could adopt. That's the next meeting. That's more than 20 days out. So in theory, you would still pass the resolution on or before the adoption of this ordinance. This would just be the introduction.
The adoption is the 25th, is that okay?
The 25th of March.
No, of February.
Do we need 20 days between?
That's cool.
That would be handed.
Okay, well, either way, the night that we would adopt the ordinance or before, we would also adopt a resolution for the agreement. So that would be the simultaneous step, because otherwise you could only introduce this when you pass the resolution, and then you'd have to wait for another meeting to actually adopt the ordinance granting the permission. And ideally, both of those things will go to the BPU at the same time.
Okay, the only reason I'm stating is because normally at ordinance, you need 2 readings in 20 days. If number 14, if in the future, if we still do that as a resolution, because it wasn't definite that we were going to do it as a resolution or ordinance. If we pass second reading an ordinance and a resolution on the same day, the ordinance, okay, it'll be fine because the ordinance 20 days will take.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. It'll be fine.
So Angela, should we put the final reading as the first meeting in March?
Yeah, we can do that.
We'll change it from February 25th. So we'll have to amend that, Council President, to March 11th will be the public hearing.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If there are no more, if I can have a motion for an advertising notice.
Or introduction.
Or introduction, sorry.
Mason, you and Mr. Wright, Councilman Wright, introduction. Second?
Second, Clark.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And now can I have a motion to advertise? Motion by Wright, second by Sefton. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All right, number 16, resolution. This is supporting the exploration of a feasibility study conducted by Atlantic County for a countywide shared municipal court system. Any questions or comments? There are none. May I have a motion, please?
So move, Trithel.
Second.
Second.
Second by Sefton. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Resolution, budget appropriation reserve transfers. I'll defer to Jody for this, if you can. Thank you, Jody.
Sure. Just some housekeeping, just trying to move a little bit of money around for stuff that came in at the end of the year. You have the first 3 months of the year that you can still make transfers on the prior year's budget.
Any questions or comments? Not roll call, please.
Make a motion, Trethel.
Second.
Second, Brown.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Sefton. Yes. Timbers,
Yes.
Trithol,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Resolution to update the bank signers for city accounts. There's no questions or comments, concerns, so I can have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second, Trethel.
all in favor?
Aye.
Number 19, again, update bank signer for TTL accounts. Can I have a motion?
So move Dash.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 20, resolution. This is in regards to releasing maintenance and guarantee to SJ Hauk. I believe the property was 349 Washington Avenue. This was for maintenance guarantee, $1,555.50, a current balance of $1,560.34 from interest earned to be released. If there's no questions or comments, I have a motion.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Sefton. Yes. Timbers,
Yes.
Trithol,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Resolution, a sewer credit refund for 215 Boston Avenue. The resident presented a copy of a canceled check to a plumber in the amount of $3,500, along with a letter requesting a credit for sewer because 162,000 gallons of leaking water flowed into the ground, not our sewer line. Credit be issued in the amount of 162,000 gallons of sewer usage at $7.50 per gallon for a total credit of $1,255. If I can have a motion, please. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Sefton. Yes. Timbers,
Yes.
Trithol,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Resolution for sewer credit for 400 Philadelphia Avenue. Resident presented a letter requesting a credit for sewer because based on his average water use over the last 3 years, it is estimated that 56,000 gallons of leaking water flowed into the ground, not our sewer line, and subsequent meter reads show that this problem has been corrected. The credit will be issued in the amount of 56,000 gallons of sewer usage at $7.50 per gallon for a total credit of $434. May I have a motion, please?
So move Dash.
Second? Roll call?
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Sefton. Yes. You may have to abstain. No, you need correct, not right. Robin, can she vote on this? 400 Philadelphia. Oh, she can't vote.
No, that's just.
No, that's what I said. You need to abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, sorry. I have to call that. Timbers,
Yes.
Trithol,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Resolution sewer credit. Refund for 1706 London Avenue. Resident water usage has been approximately 1,000 gallons of water a month based on the actual meter readings. However, a bill issued to the resident in the amount of $732.50 was based on 41,000 gallons of water use. A resident is requesting a refund for 35,000 gallons of sewer usage based on his actual monthly usage. A credit will be issued in the amount of 35,000 gallons of sewer usage at $7.50 per gallon for a total credit of $262.52. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a move.
Second? Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Sefton, Timbers,
Yes.
Trithol,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Okay, to introduce an ordinance number 3, 2021, to update the master plan for special emergency. Advertised notice of introduction in the Hamilton Gazette on February 17, 2021. For a public hearing on February 25th, 2021. Any questions or comments or concerns with this? All right, may I have a motion to introduce the ordinance?
Second. Trithol.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to advertise notice of introduction in the Hamilton Gazette? Second.
Second, Clark.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Public hearing for ordinance number 1, 2021, amending the general code of the Egg Harbor, City of Egg Harbor, Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 259, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations. I have a motion to open for public hearing.
Make a motion to open Trithol.
Second, Dash.
All right. So open a public hearing. Anybody in the public have anything for ordinance number 1, 2021?
I make a motion, we close public hearing.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Before we vote, Council President, I did have one comment.
Sure.
The only comment is I spoke with Ryan, and Ryan said that he had reviewed the traffic study that was put forward. And I just wanted to be able to see, maybe we can add that to our, to the legislation and say that Ryan, that he reviewed it, felt that there was a safety concern and that it didn't, I didn't have a problem with any of the normal standards by the state.
Mr. Timbers, this
Yes.
is the solicitor. Our
Yeah.
public safety director did the traffic study, and pursuant to statute, he's permitted to perform traffic studies and give his opinion to the mayor and council. And with all due respect, before you became a councilman, that's exactly what he did. So I do not think it's necessary nor appropriate to include it and make part of this ordinance. What we did do, however, is I took Ms. Galloway's advice and I changed New York Avenue to the easterly side of New York Avenue to make it clear. And I thank Ms. Galloway for that comment.
Anything else, Councilman?
No.
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second, please.
Second, Brown.
Thank you. Roll call.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Sefton,
Yes.
Timbers,
Abstain.
Trithol,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. All right, may I have a motion to advertise notice of adoption in the Hamilton Gazette on February 25th, 2021?
So moved, Dash.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 26 for the bill list. Any questions or comments on the bill list? If there are none, may I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Make a second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Sefton,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Trithol,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. I'd like to open up now to mayor and council comments. Mayor, any closing remarks?
No, thank you.
All right. Council comments. We'll start with Councilwoman Sefton. Anything? Councilwoman Brown?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Councilman Dash?
Yes, I would like to thank Ryan for all of his hard work and getting the information to us about the sale of the water plant. Also like to thank Keith Adams for all of his amazing amount of work he put into giving us all the information we needed to make a decision. I appreciate both work that both men put into that, along with everyone else that did it. Selling of the water plant is not an easy decision. So it was great that we had a lot more data to look at over these last couple of meetings.
Thank you. Councilman Trithall?
Yes, I'd like to echo what Councilman Dash said with all the hard work and the information that was given to us. Also, I'd like to commend the police department because the improvements that have been, done in doing a lot of things that, have stepped up as well. In addition to my comments about the fire department, near and dear to my heart as well. So other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Timbers?
No comment.
Thank you. Councilman Wright? No. And Councilwoman Clark?
None tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open up for public comment? I'll make that motion. Second, please.
Second, Clark.
Thank you. It's now open for public comment.
Yeah, this is Nanette Galloway. I had a question about the solar that Ryan mentioned out at the parking lot near the train station.
Yes.
Could that be done as a community solar project where the low to moderate income residents share in the a discount on their bill?
I don't know if you can combine a remote net metering with a community solar project. Honestly, I'll look into that. We internally batted around the idea of floating that as a suggestion of doing a community solar at that site. But we really wanted to try to get the city's solar needs met first.
Right.
But I would imagine that there's a larger area there than the need will be for the city. So we'll see if there's a surplus on that site, would you be able to combine it with the community solar? And
Well, I just received a document from the Sustainable Jersey folks about community solar. It's a guidebook, so I'll email that to you.
okay, yeah, no, I know there's some good guidance out there. So that'd
Yeah.
be-
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Galloway. Anybody else from the public?
Yes, Marcus King from the Teamsters. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe and well. Now that the council has decided to sell the water department, it just draws me back to when the former council decided they were going to have the courts moved to another town. There has been no conversation regarding the present employees. So I hear you say a lot of conversation about putting everything together for selling the water department. But what are we doing with the employees that are going to be affected because of the sale of the building? I know that our contract is up, and I did share recently with Jody our proposal, but we haven't had any conversation of the impact that this is going to mean to the present employees of the city.
Mr. King, this is Councilman Trithall. I brought that question up to Keith yesterday at our meeting. Keith, I don't know if you want to speak on it, if you can or not, but that was brought up and some things were stated as well, what may be moving forward with the employees if this goes through.
All right, so with all due respect, Mr. Councilman, I would rather deal with the city than the union.
Mr. King, I can't hear you. You're very low and modulated.
Let me try to turn this up. Can you hear me any better now?
I can't. Can anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh.
You were loud and clear early.
Not sure what happened. I haven't changed locations. So I'm not sure why my mic is acting up. Is it possible that we can schedule a meeting to further this conversation?
I don't have any objections to that. This is Councilman Trethel. I have no objections. We can speak to the union.
Yes, we can get in contact and schedule a meeting. That's no problem.
Very good. Then I'll keep my comments that time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
King.
you.
Anybody else from the public with any comments?
Hi, my name is Kim Hess. I'm on New Orleans Avenue. I do have a question regarding the Resolution 16 about the countywide shared municipality. I just wanted to know how this would work since we are already a joint municipality. How does this work? Do we have, 50-50 say in this?
Well, I
Does
can
any,
speak
could
to
anyone
that.
else? Thank you.
Actually, what the county is doing, they're just exploring this county-wide municipal court, which means they're looking into all those issues, how it would be implemented, where it would be implemented, how it would affect the municipalities, and how it would affect the shared services that many municipalities now have. So right now it's in its infancy. We really don't have any information to give you other than Atlantic County is exploring it and they're looking into ways to make it cost effective.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else from the public with any comment?
I'll make a motion. We close the public comments.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and with that, if I may have a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone, and everyone have a safe and healthy couple weeks. See you next time.
Be safe and healthy,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.